All right, good morning, everybody. Nice to see everybody this morning. It's been a while since Ryushin has been here, so howdy to you, howdy to Austin and Jordan. And Lacey and I had already said howdy earlier, so uh, I hope everybody's doing well. I'll go ahead and get started this morning. Let's see, it's been a couple of weeks because I had sashimi last week, and not everybody, I think actually Lacey was the only one that was here uh, the last talk. So I'm basically going to go over stuff that I went over that last talk. We're kind of moving into a different section of the text, and so what I thought I might do first of all is just read the first part of the text that we've gone through so far, and then I'm going to talk about the main point, I think, or some way to kind of think about the main point of this first part of the Makahannyaharamitsu text. So, just to go over this again, the time of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva practicing profound prajna paramita is the whole body, clearly seeing the emptiness of all five aggregates. The five aggregates are forms, sensations, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. This is the fivefold prajna. Clear seeing is itself prajna. To unfold and manifest this essential truth, the Heart Sutra states that form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Form is nothing but form, emptiness is nothing but emptiness. 100 blades of grass, 10,000 things. The 12 sense fields are 12 instances of prajna paramita. Also, there are 18 instances of prajna: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, object of mind, as well as the consciousness of eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Also, there are 4 instances of prajna: suffering, its cause, its cessation, and the path to cessation. Also, there are 6 instances of prajna: generosity, pure precepts, calm patience, diligence, quiet meditation, and wisdom. There's also a single instance of prajna manifesting itself right now: unsurpassable, complete, perfect awakening. Also, there are 3 instances of prajna: past, present, and future. Also, 4 instances of prajna are going on daily: walking, standing, sitting, and lying down. So this is the part that we've covered so far, and the next part kind of goes into a different section, I think, or phase of the text, I guess. And so, I said I'm going to go over the main point, but actually it's a tiny point. Really what's being said here is there's so much to say and that can't be said that, I'm really just going over a tiny drop of what's being said here. But it's actually one of the main points that I think Dogen Zenji is trying to make about our Zazen practice and just our life in general, and the reality itself and its relationship to Zazen and Buddha's teaching and the Heart Sutra. So, as I often said, or we said many times, the entire kind of the whole fascicle is contained within the first line, or the whole of the Shobogenzo, really, basically. he talks about in this time of Avalokiteshvara and the whole body, So we've talked about that from a certain perspective, of Avalokiteshvara and our Zazen and the entirety of Indra's net. But so now shift perspective and talk about this in terms of this sutta that I often talk about, the Kachayana Sutta, which is an early Pali text that is very very much studied in when we kind of look at the philosophy, so to speak, or the anti-philosophy of Buddhist teaching and what Buddha said right view is and the middle way. Actually, he expressed it several ways, but this is a very important way that we can talk about it. So let's see if I can do my screen sharing here. So I'm going to read this Kachayana Sutta again. It's short, and thank you for being patient and while I read stuff this morning. But this, what I have to say there isn't a lot to it, but to have the kind of background is important. To kind of have the foundation of what we're saying here is important. So let's see if I can bring this sutta up. Let's see. Okay, we don't want this. How do I get rid of minimize that thing? All right, so where's the Kachayana Sutta? Should be here. There it is. Okay. Can't get it to move. Sorry about this. I don't know what. I can't get it to move for some reason. Let's see. See if that helps. Okay. Okay, so can you see all of that? And mine, it's being covered up somewhat in mine, but let me minimize this. Okay. I'm on a sort of, this isn't my usual computer. It doesn't really have enough power to do this. So I'm sorry, computer, to strain you so much, but that's why these strange things are happening. Okay, so here we go. At Savatthi, the Venerable Kachayana asked the Blessed One, right view, it is said, Lord. In what way, Lord, is there right view? In general, Kachayana, the world in general, Kachayana, inclines to two views, to existence or to non-existence. But for him who, with the highest wisdom, sees the uprising of the world as it really is, non-existence of the world does not apply. And for him who, with highest wisdom, sees the passing away of the world as it really is, existence of the world does not apply. The world in general, Kachayana, grasps after systems and is imprisoned by dogmas. But he does not go along with that system grasping, that mental obstinacy and dogmatic bias, does not grasp at it, does not affirm, this is myself. He knows without doubt or hesitation that whatever arises is merely dukkha, that what passes away is merely dukkha, and such knowledge is his own, not depending on anyone else. This Kaccayana is what constitutes right view. Everything exists, this is one extreme. Nothing exists, this is the other extreme. Avoiding both extremes, the Tathagata teaches a doctrine of the middle. Conditioned by ignorance are the formations. So here he goes on to list and teach the 12-fold chain of dependent origination. So it's kind of abbreviated here. And I think there may be one paragraph after that. Okay, yeah, that's it. That's basically what it is. So there's so much packed into this. We've and I talk about it often, but we'll just talk about a few of the main points. But this whole idea of grasping. He's talking about the self here and grasping our experience as real. And grasping the world as existing ultimately. And of course, this is a problem, when we grasp onto some system of philosophy or some view of the world or a view of the self as true, absolutely, we have a problem because we adopt a dogmatic approach to our life, and we can't see and accept the change of our life unfolding. The reality of this self that is always changing and is never the same. And yet, if we say this self or this reality doesn't exist, we fall into a kind of nihilism where nothing matters, and we get either lazy or we even can go into a sort of amoral approach to our life. And there's no way to, care about this life and the beings that we're connected to and those that come after us. So, on the one hand, we have kind of, things exist and things don't exist. But if we grasp either one, if we say, things don't exist, there's no way for us to hand down the teachings of the Dharma, for example. There's no reason for us to say there's any use in people practicing, because people can't. Everything is impermanent. People, the generations that come after us, it doesn't really matter because everything is going to just end at some point and nothing is real. And yet, if we say that there is some kind of ultimate reality that isn't changing, or that is the foundation or the metaphysical foundation for things, our views become solid, and we ignore or we misinterpret or push away anything that doesn't agree with our particular view. Is one of the dangers, of this kind of eternalism, or this kind of grasping onto the self and our experience as real. So, what he says, the remedy for this is the middle way, or right view. And it's very important that right view, he makes it clear, is seeing with the highest wisdom. So right view is a practice. It's not a view, actually. It's not a philosophy, or it's not a something written down, or something that we can grasp. But it's seeing the world arising with the highest wisdom. When we see the world arising, we see babies being born, we see trees growing, tadpoles forming, we see cause and effect, basically. The view of nihilism, or the view that nothing exists, is negated, or it's not negated, but we can't grasp this view that nothing exists because we see things arising. Yeah, and when we see things passing away, we see the baby becoming an infant. We see the infant baby becoming a toddler, or we see the tadpoles becoming frogs. We see ourselves growing and changing and things passing away. We see that nothing is ever solid and we can't grasp. So the view of eternalism, or the view that something is fixed, or that our views in our life needs to be fixed on one true reality that we need to get to that's better than this one, for example, that we can't grasp that. We let go of that. So, I've talked a lot about this sutta when I talked about the Heart Sutra, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but it's very profound, and it's like the basis of so many teachings, I think, in Zen and Mahayana Buddhism in general, but it's an early, Pali text. But to me, what this highest seeing with the highest wisdom is our Zazen. We can't, right view isn't something that, as I said, we can adopt and say, this is an intellectual view that I have. It is a practice of seeing with the highest wisdom. So, the 12-fold chain that the Buddha talked about at the end of this sutta is his way of expressing emptiness. That all the self is empty. It's always changing and dependent and conditioned on other things. And yet we can't say it doesn't exist because we're here speaking and talking to each other. And if we say, it doesn't exist, it's kind of, it doesn't make any sense. And yet, if we say that it does exist, that doesn't make any sense either, because we're not the same as we were 10 minutes ago, let alone 5 years ago or 10 minutes ago or 10 years ago. So I'm a different person than I was 10 years ago, basically, or 20 or 30 years ago, especially, when I was an infant. What do I really have in common with the baby? I don't have anything really. The way I think, look, and behave is completely different. Sometimes I probably act like a baby, but so I have nothing, I'm a completely different being from a certain perspective than the 1-year-old Shoryu. And yet there is a connection, and I can't say that's not me, because without that 1-year-old Shoryu, I would not be here. And I have memories from 10 years ago. I have karmic experiences that accumulate. And if we say that there is no self, there's no way to take responsibility for our karma. But if we say the self is unchanging and eternal, there's no way to practice and awaken. There's no growth and there's no awakening if there's no change and impermanence. So this is why the reality of emptiness goes beyond existence and non-existence, and it can only be manifest, or it can only be the right view of emptiness can only be adopted by a human being through practice. When we try to grasp it with our mind and explain it the way I am now, it's very different. It falls very short of the reality, that of emptiness itself. So anyway, this is what he's saying here. So this is part of what Dogen Zenji is talking about in this text, I think, is this Prajnaparamita is this, to me, a synonym for this highest wisdom. The Pali words are not exactly the same. I looked it up, and they're not, Prajnaparamita is not the word used here. I can't, for this highest wisdom, I can't remember. It is a prajna, but it's not, prajna paramita. But I can't remember right now what it was. But it's a synonym, I think, and it's also a synonym for clear seeing in the Heart Sutra, and it's a synonym for zazen practice, because in zazen, things arise, we let go of them, things cease, they we see the uprising and we see the falling away, or we don't, see with our sense organs necessarily, but with the whole body, we see. This is clear seeing, the whole body of just allowing without grasping. So the things arise and the things fall away, and we don't grasp either one, and we don't get attached to the view that our thoughts or experiences are real or unreal, that they really exist or that they don't exist. Because either way, we make a mistake if we say that, they do. So I wanted to, last time I talked about this in terms of Genjo Koan. Because Genjo Koan and this text are very closely related. Dogen Zenji actually wrote Makahannyaharamitsu first, and but Genjo Koan he wrote soon after, and he actually put Genjo Koan first in his collection, his compilation of Shobo Genzo. So this is the second chapter, and it's very important and highly related to Genjo Koan. But I didn't. So last time I made this table and I showed it, and I didn't really have it worked out so well as far as what I put down for the Makahannyaharamitsu point. So I'm glad in a way that you guys weren't here except for Lacey. But anyway, I won't go over the Genjo Koan thing again. We'll talk about it when we talk about Genjo Koan. We'll study it. I'll bring this up again. But this is like the eighth. It was the eighth paragraph of Genjo Koan. It's a kind of confusing paragraph for many people. It's the one that talks about firewood and ash. But he's talking about this Kachayana Sutta, the middle way, I think, in this firewood and ash. He's talking about right view and the middle way and existence and non-existence. But yeah, we won't talk about that again. I mean, if we could look at it again, if somebody wants to, or I could send it. I'll put this up on our practice page, but let's see which one. I think this is the one then that has the stuff on it that I want to talk about, but I can't see how to maximize it. It's strange. I can't see what to do here. Oh, here it is. Okay, I think I can see it now. There we go. I got it. This thing was covering up what I wanted to do. Anyway, here it is. So this, I made this document with talking about the Heart Sutra and Makahannyaharamitsu. And so what I forgot last time, or what I didn't make clear in my own mind, or how I wanted to present this, is that we can't really talk about, Makahannyaharamitsu, of course, without talking about the Heart Sutra. It's his kind of commentary on the Heart Sutra. And the thing that's confusing when you really start analyzing this stuff, and I'll talk about this at the end, everything can go in any other column. That's the point. All of them are interchangeable, and yet we think that they're discrete, like things exist or they don't exist, or that they're practiced. But the point is that everything is expressing Prajna Paramita, and so they can all go in either column, any column, and none, and all of them at once. So, but anyway, um, I kind of said I wouldn't go to Genjo Koan, but this is where it really, is grounded into the first three lines of Genjo Koan. Um, so it says something like, I don't even want to sort of paraphrase it, but basically he says the first, in the first, um, the first line that, let's see, I can't even remember now. It says when the Buddha Dharma is the Buddha Dharma, there are sentient beings, Buddhas, delusion and enlightenment. Let me see if I wrote it down. Nope. Okay. Anyway, the first line is like, there are sentient beings, there are Buddhas, and there is delusion and enlightenment. When the Buddha way is the Buddha way, or something to that effect. When the second one is something like, when all dharmas have no fixed self, there are no sentient beings, there are no Buddhas, and there is no delusion and enlightenment. And then the third sentence is something like, since the Buddha way goes beyond the dichotomy of abundance and deficiency, there is delusion and enlightenment, Buddhas and sentient beings, so forth. So again, it's very strange and kind of confusing, but I think this is what he's talking about here. So he's talking, this is really related to this Kachayana Sutta and what the Buddha said in this kind of very simple way. So, oh, here it is. I forgot I wrote it right here. That's why I couldn't find it, because it's on this document. So this is the first column. Boy, that wasn't, I forgot what I did just yesterday. But so first of all, then in this first column, you have existence, non-existence, in the middle way. This is the Kachayana Sutta. The second one is Genjo Koan. When all dharmas are Buddha Dharma, that's existence. When the 10,000 dharmas are without fixed self, that's non-existence. That's the Heart Sutra. This first column is when all dharmas are Buddha Dharma. That's Shakyamuni's teaching, or the teaching of early Buddhism. The middle way is the Buddha way goes beyond abundance and deficiency in Genjo Koan. And this is what he's saying in Makahannyaharamitsu, this first part, I think. So you have here, the teaching of the five aggregates, for example. That's what the Buddha taught. In the Heart Sutra, it says all five aggregates are empty. They don't exist. In the Makahannyaharamitsu text, it says the five aggregates are the fivefold prajna. So, it's very confusing because if we don't understand these first two columns and we just take the last column, it's very dangerous. It's a vast misunderstanding of the Buddha's teaching. And this is about our Zazen practice. The Buddha said, the five aggregates, when we cling to them, they're Mara. They're the source of delusion and suffering, greed, hatred, and delusion. The Heart Sutra said, because they're empty and connected infinitely to other things, they don't exist. And that's the way we let go of them. And, Makahannyaharamitsu says it's very important to practice with the five skandhas, the understanding of the five skandhas, because they are our life energy. And then we practice with them as prajnaparamita, as manifestations of the Buddha way, of Indra's net, of existence and non-existence beyond. We practice with them as if they exist, although we know they don't exist on some level. So he's talking about, our Zazen practice here. That's the way we bring our Zazen into our everyday life. If we just say the five aggregates are not real, we have a problem. If we say they are real, we have a problem. If we just practice with them here and now, they are manifestations of the Buddha way. Because, Shakyamuni never left his five skandhas during his lifetime. He used those five skandhas to teach the Dharma. But he said he departed from the five skandhas. They weren't, the grasping skandhas. The name in Pali is Upadana skandha, the five skandhas of grasping. And when he practiced with them, they just became the five skandhas. So, okay, so you get the idea. That's basically it. So this is kind of a generalization here, but the arising of defilements, of greed, hatred, and delusion are the source of suffering. And later, kind of early, Abhidharma texts really emphasize this kind of existence or non-existence of dharmas or, suffering. And it was a big part of what the Heart Sutra was reacting against, because certain schools said, well, these dharmas, there is an elemental dharma that really exists, that is eternal. And some said, well, no, it's actually the person or the aggregates that exist, or the 18 elements, or there are all these different variations on what it is that makes it possible for things to be permanent and impermanent at the same time. That was a problem, because philosophically, this doesn't work. If we use our normal logic, this doesn't work. And the early Buddhist schools really tried to make a system that hashed this out. And it seems that Mahayana Buddhists got to some point where it's like, you guys got way away from what the Buddha taught. Because some schools said that there are some dharma, some eternal, unchanging things, but anyway, the Buddha never said that. So, of course, the Heart Sutra says that dharmas, or this kind of elemental portion of experience, this, that Buddhist philosophy talked about is they're neither defiled nor pure. The Buddha said you need to get rid of the impure uh, things, elements of mind, and cultivate the pure ones. And that's the way we're released. It's one way he expressed the Dharma was to say, you purify the mind of defilements. Dogen Zenji says there are 6 instances of prajna: earth, water, fire, wind, space, and consciousness. So these are the 6 elements of existence. So some people, this is one way of saying these are kind of the elemental experiences, the elemental dharmas, kind of the smallest element of experience. Everything is made up of these 6 elements. This was early Buddhist, teaching. And he says those are instances of prajnaparamita where the Heart Sutra says they don't exist. So it's the same thing that's being said, of course, in these other sections. We use these teachings in order to express the reality. That we act as if our experience, or we analyze our karmic tendencies in order to express the reality beyond our karma. So, without kind of another way to talk about this is it's studying cause and effect. Without studying the way the mind works, the way our own habit patterns work, and what influences wholesome and unwholesome activity, it's very difficult to grow and learn. And yet, we know that each of those experiences, the reason that we can let go of those difficult aspects of our life, is that we know that they're empty. I can say, well, I did this thing that was unwholesome, and I was unkind and mean to this person, and I caused harm. And so we can study that, and we can change. And so the next time, and we might even be able to make some action that will rectify the harm that we caused in the past too. But if we don't study it or accept it and take it into our life, it's very difficult to express this compassion of emptiness without studying the way the world works. So this purifying of the mind, it's the basic teaching of Buddha. In the Dhammapada, he says, avoid all evil, do all good, purify your mind. And that's the basis of Buddhism. That's kind of the most fundamental early teaching of Buddhism. But the point is that this purifying of the mind is really interpreted differently in Mahayana Buddhism than some other schools, early schools. So, I mean, I don't think it's different from what the Buddhists taught, but of course, but Mahayana Buddhism, this purification is letting go of the self-centered view of oneself, of letting go of that this self exists, and we need to get something to make this person get what it needs, and that's more important than what someone else gets. Or in other words, we make this self the center of the universe. So how do we do good and avoid evil without making it a product of our ego? That's the purification of the mind. how we have no way to do anything if we don't practice with these delusions. This kind of belief in self and other, we have to let go, and yet we have to pretend there's a self, or else there's no way to practice. There's no way to show up for Zazen if we don't know what time to come, or we don't believe in time. Everything breaks down. So, and this is what Nagarjuna said, is that the way that we express or approach nirvana is through this relative realm. Some people think, we go to the undefiled or the non-conditioned, the unconditioned, by somehow going into this realm of emptiness where there's no cause and effect, and that's the way we, express awakening, or we become enlightened. But actually, the point is, Buddha's teaching was that we realize and express this truth beyond conditioning through the conditioned. Or no, that's one way to say it. But we cannot practice Zazen without the conditioned realm. For example, we hold this posture and we say, this is my body and I'm going to go sit Zazen. And in the actual moment of doing Zazen, we give up all ideas about time, space, sensations, self and other. They come up and we let them go. Yet without practicing in this conditioned realm of body and mind, we can't express this realm beyond conditioning. So it's contradictory. It doesn't make sense to the conditioned rational mind. But that's why we have all of this stuff called, sutras. Sawaki Roshi, as I always say, he says this is all the footnotes to Zazen. The actual doing of Zazen is the most important thing in our life. And yet, when we approach these teachings as a part of our Zazen without grasping them, they too are beyond, existence and non-existence, and they are the middle way. But if we grasp even to this as true and inflexible, we're stuck. If we say, I'm a Buddhist and my way is right, and the Catholics, they're wrong, that's a problem. So it's very simple but profound teaching. So anyway, this chart just kind of goes on with the rest of the things in the Buddha's teaching and then in the Heart Sutra. So okay, cessation of the defilements lead to nirvana. Dharmas are neither pure, neither arise nor cease. That's what the Heart Sutra says. Dogen Zenji says there are 3 instances of prajna: past, present, and future. The dharmas of past, present, and future. And we talk about this often, how he says that, all of our suffering is caused by clinging to the past and the future. And yet, we need the past, present, and future in order to express our life in a wholesome way, of course. So we practice with time as if without grasping it as existent or non-existent. Anyway, we won't talk about time right now. So the Buddha famously said these 18 elements of, the 6 sense organs and the objects of the 6 sense organs, And the contact between those 12 things is burning with greed, hatred, and delusion. That contact is the source of suffering and the source of the clinging to self. And the Heart Sutra says these 18 elements don't exist, of course. So when you really study the object of the ear, for example, you find that you can't find the source of a sound, as we often say. When the bell is ringing, is it the bell that's ringing, or is it the striker that's ringing, or is it the air that carries the sound to the ear, or is it the contact between the air and the vibration and the eardrum? Which one of those things? So is the object of the sound. Where does the sound begin? We find that the sound is beginningless and endless. The sound wouldn't occur without the tree that the striker is made from, for example. Or the person that's ringing the bell is also part of the sound. Any of those elements, they aren't there, the sound doesn't happen. So where is this object of mind, or this object of ear? Where is it? What is it? It's inexplicable, and the source of it is beyond comprehension. And it's the same with all of the other 5 sense organs. And he considered the mind a sense organ, and the objects of mind, some consciousness, some mind consciousness arises. And then again, Dogen Zenji says that these 18 elements are instances of prajna paramita. So when we practice with them as beyond existence and non-existence, their expression of reality or emptiness or Buddha or truth. So, there's no way for us to have a discussion today without these 18 elements. But if I really believe in what I'm hearing as true or ultimately real, it's a problem. We have no way to expand our views. If they're, the Dharma, Dogen Zenji said, when the Dharma fills your body and mind, you know that something is missing. When you think the body, he said something long before, those who think that they understand the Dharma are far away from the Dharma. Those who think that the Dharma fills the body and mind are far away from the Dharma. When the Dharma fills your body and mind, or your hands, or whatever he said, you understand that something is missing. So we never actually see this sense organ, the source of this sense organ. We never actually see the source of the eye object. So, okay, and so the same thing with the 12-fold chain. This the Heart Sutra, that's something that the Buddha taught. The Heart Sutra says it doesn't exist. And so part of the point, of course, as I was saying, is the reason this is negated is that people begin to cling to these things as ultimate truths, the 12-fold chain. Like, this is absolutely true. This is a dogmatic truth. Where Shakyamuni taught this as a means to practice, study the self. He didn't teach this as an ultimate truth that cannot be negated. He actually talked about the self in many ways. The 12-fold chain is a way to describe the self. So is the 18 elements. So is the 5 skandhas. So he didn't, say one of these ways is the ultimate way that is beyond questioning or, can't be negated in any way. But the same with the, let's see, Four Noble Truths. This should be down a little bit, actually. So I left out the 12-fold chain here in this column. Actually, I don't think does Dogen Zenji say. I don't think he negates the 12-fold chain, or he doesn't talk about the 12-fold chain. Actually, that's why I put it here, I think. So, but he does talk about the Four Noble Truths as being four instances of prajna. So, anyway, this bottom part is just kind of to explain or to show that all of these things can go in any other column, really. So the point is, seeing the uprising and the passing away of the world with the highest wisdom, that is the Buddha's teaching. And this could go in the emptiness column, or it could go in the prajna column, This clear seeing is highest wisdom, or this clear seeing is the expression of emptiness. Actually, it says in the Heart Sutra, bodhisattvas rely on prajna paramita. And you could put that in the existence column. This thing called prajna paramita exists and we rely on it. And yet, when you study what this prajna paramita is, it's empty. It means emptiness. It means change. It means beyond change and beyond stillness. So it could go here, clear seeing is itself prajna paramita. So this is just kind of a way of saying that the point is that these teachings to me are trying to communicate basically the same practice from a different perspective. And they're emphasizing one aspect of that perspective. But it's important to understand, I think, what Dogen Zenji is saying in this way when he says there are 18 instances of prajna paramita and the relationship it has to the Heart Sutra and what the Buddha taught. Because, as I say, it's really dangerous if you don't study what that means. Then you kind of go back into some kind of, grasping of things as real, or giving oneself license to do, indulge or whatever, like if you say, well, the five skandhas are prajna paramita, I might as well indulge them and give them whatever they want, And whatever I do is enlightenment. And so I can't be wrong and just party or check out or whatever, So, and that was actually a problem in his day, this teaching of, original enlightenment was a problem that, many people think that he was writing these kinds of things specifically for people in his assembly who came from, Darumashu, for example, which had a real heavy emphasis on original enlightenment, and trying to teach the new monks in his assembly the Dharma that goes beyond this, attachment to original enlightenment. This says everything is Buddha, so anything goes, basically. All you have to do is know that you're Buddha and you're enlightened, and practice doesn't matter. That was the thing that really wanted to push against, was practice doesn't matter. This was the kind of teaching that was going around in some circles, that practice doesn't matter because everything is Buddha. And his his teaching is the opposite of that. Is, practice is Buddha itself. So how do you express that, though? So his teaching was really, just the opposite of that. And so we can interpret this teaching, in exactly the opposite way that he wanted it to be interpreted, if we don't study it in the context of other Buddhist teachings. So, okay, I think that's enough for what I have to say today. Just leave it at that, I think, and let's see if there's any comments or questions anybody has. If not, that's okay. Ryushin had something.
Yeah, go ahead, Ryushin.
Oh, I didn't see. Okay, Ryushin, then Austin. Okay.
Well, like maybe some comment, Sensei. It's great to see like the connection between these different approaches of Buddhism. I don't know if that makes sense. Many approaches, but they are like they. But it's wonderful. Like I was thinking in Fukansa Sengi, like the first phrase, like the way is perfect. So maybe a way to understand this, the way is perfect, is through Makahannyaharamitsu. So that calls my attention. But I can say many things. Of course, many thoughts came to my mind, especially about like the different kind of relationship, or no, better, how to develop some ideas through other Buddhist texts. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, but it's beautiful, and so thank you, Sensei.
You're welcome. Yeah, thank you, Ryushin. Yeah, I mean, I think this is true once we start kind of understanding the way Dogen Zenji expressed things. We see the themes in other things that he wrote, and they start making a bit more sense. Although you can never make sense of it in a way that we would think from a rational standpoint, but we feel we can sort of see the direction that he's pointing us in. And it is true, though, that whenever we feel, whenever he thinks that we might be thinking that we understand, he pulls the rug out from underneath us, because any view is a problem. So that's part of the point. Staying in any of these three views, for example, is a problem. Even saying, this middle way view, thinking that we know what that is, or that we have absolutely accomplished that, is a problem. Our practice is endless and always changing. So, Austin, did you have something?
Yeah, I really appreciate this. It's what you call kind of side by side view of these different texts. For me, I know that, and I think you made the statement earlier, the Sloppy quote of, I've heard it said a few different ways. I've heard all sutras are footnotes to Zazen. I've heard all of Buddhism is a footnote to sitting in meditation. I think, that kind of means the same thing. That way of looking at these texts has helped me a lot. And I think attempts to at least intellectually approach Buddhism, because I know that, like, when I first encountered Buddhism in my life as a whole, I think it was in an academic context. It was like a book report for school or something. And it was definitely a sort of almost looking at it as a historical and cultural phenomenon rather than I guess a more for life, per se. And how to say what I'm getting at is it's the shift in view for me from looking at these texts as kind of a sort of historical thought handed down from person to person, and of course it is all of them, but to a viewpoint on the experience of practice that sort of, say what I'm getting at. Instead of kind of coming down to us through history, more arising from practice of I should even say of Zazen, or like the experience of term, the eternal now sort of gets thrown out or something, and sort of arising out of that rather than like coming to us from the outside. I don't know if that makes any kind of sense. That made a lot more sense in my head than when I started talking, I think. I don't know. It's been a shift. It's been, I think, helpful for me thinking about this.
Yeah, thank you, Austin. I appreciate that. I think it's it's a really important point, and it's part of the reason that the Prajnaparamita Sutras arose, because they're basically saying, this is our life. This isn't a philosophical endeavor, or this isn't an academic study. This is our life. And philosophical study is okay in the service of our life, but if it becomes a thing for its own sake, like a game that we play in order to impress ourselves or others or, whatever, that's one thing, but it's not the Dharma. And so I think that's a big reason apparently that Mahayana Buddhism arose, was a kind of reaction against a select number of people kind of specializing in the study of the tradition that was only understood by them. And that really wasn't what the Buddha did at all. He taught many different ways. He taught, sometimes he used very simple language. Sometimes he used more explicit, kind of theoretical language. Sometimes he used parables. But the point was his compassion for beings to awaken. And so I think that's what, according to Mahayana Buddhism, why the Mahayana movement arose was kind of reaction against things getting away from the reality of our life, because this is all our life. This isn't something separate or outside of the self. That's one way we express this. This is the study of the self. To study the Buddha way is to study the self. Study the self is to forget the self, So Yeah, it's a very good point. Thank you. You had something, Rushin?
Yes, and say also I want to thank I identify four things that maybe I would like to develop in next Monday. So like I'll try to put it in a clear way my thoughts and questions and to explore a little bit so good news maybe for me like also for everybody to talk a little bit about different things because with this I want to say like it was a good experience because like many topics came to my mind and that's a good experience for me. Like I like that, and like to continue studying and exploring that word that expression exists. Exploring,
Yes. Yeah. Sure.
exploring Dharma.
Right. Yeah. Sounds good. All right. I look forward to hearing your questions on Monday. If I'm still around, we'll see. But I'm, probably. We assume. See, it's just a convention that we have to use. That yes, we'll all be here, but we really don't know for sure. But we'll hopefully.
We won't be the same if we are, right?
That's right. Yeah, we'll even if we do show up, we'll be different people. But still, we have to say, well, there's no way to meet and have a Dharma discussion if we don't pretend that we're the same people showing up. Yeah.
So Sensei, I just want to share a little story about this. Like the first time that I hear that Sherry Sensei said that if the is still in place, I was worried and I sent him an email. Like, oh, why? There's a special reason you could see the practice when it be over, and something like that. And it was kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that. It's kind of, I wasn't very considerate just for somebody who, doesn't know me and the way that I talk to say that because I could see that somebody could misinterpret what I was saying easily. But, it's kind of a problem. Like, it's the idea of our practice, but we do assume that we'll be here in the morning, but we really need to keep in mind that we may not to be. Not because it's morbid or nihilistic or bad, but just because we realize how precious this moment is, and to care for it as if it were, the only moment, and it is. But it's kind of yes. Sometimes I just say things, and it's the kind of normal things that we say is like, see you next time. But we really don't know. I mean, every time I say that, some part of me says, oh, well, I don't really know that. And it's a kind of lie or a fiction, but we have to use it. Or, sometimes we can change our language to be a bit more skillful too. Like, in this moment, I hope to see you next time. Something simple like that. Yeah.
I like saying it like that also implies that in the next moment you may not hope to see them next time.
Well, it's always true. I mean, it's right. There might be some reason you don't want to see anybody next time. You might be in bed with the flu and you don't want to see anybody. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Before we go, any other comments or questions? Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. And I hope to see you again soon in this moment. May this merit extend universally to all, so that we, together with all beings, realize the Buddha way. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. Buddha's way is unsurpassable. I vow to realize it. I just noticed there was something in the chat. Did someone have a comment?
Yeah, it's just an observation of mine. I'm a little quick to come up when I battle. I just noticed that I'm frequently already up, and it's like, oh, everybody else is still slowly coming up.
Oh,
just a funny observation.
I see. Well, there's also the element of the time, the time lag in the broadcast or whatever this is, the internet. So it's the reason that we only have one person chanting, because if you try to all chant at once, it turns out to be something really strange, stranger than when I just do it alone. I'm not sure, but that's the way we'll do it. Okay. You had something, Ryushin?
Oh, yes, Sensei. Really, it's really brief.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking with my family. I was able to go back to Gyobutsuri in order to buy the tickets. So I just want to tell you in order to think which time for you it will be fine. Like the proposal from my family. I told them I would like to go from February to June or something like that. But they told me why not since January? And I was like, wow, would be great. But I don't know, because if it's in January, it's 2 months only. So that's for me news in a sense. It makes me excited in some sense, but I don't know if that works good for you since say in your activities schedule for me to go to Tsuji, in the middle of January.
Yeah, that might be something we could discuss. Maybe just think about, because there's things that really we should probably talk about around it to make sure that it would work. So, maybe I don't know when we could discuss it. Maybe I don't know what your schedule's like on Monday or early next week, or does that work for you? Or
Yeah. On Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah, I think it would. I think it would work. Yeah, that should work. So we can just maybe text and set up a time. Yeah.
Great.
All right.
Just like maybe what I want to share was like I want to ask you a favor, and it's like to see um like the sooner in a sense the better in order to start looking for good tickets, good airplane tickets.
Right.
But yeah, I just want to be more clear with what I was trying to say, maybe.
Sure. Yeah, I understand. I mean, the sooner the better, of course, with the prices and all. Yeah, that sounds good. So we'll just talk it over a little bit. Sounds good.
What to say.
Okay. You're welcome. Thank you. Okay. Take care, everybody.
Yeah, and it seems beautiful. The back part of where you see it in north, like the trees. I just noticed that it's it looks beautiful. The color of the leaves, but yeah, no more. I just wanted
Yeah.
a good lunch.
We're almost. It is nice. We're through kind of with the peak of the colors, but it's been really pretty the last few weeks. Yeah, most of the leaves are actually coming down now, but it's nice. Yeah.
Have a good lunch.
Okay, you too. See you.